Why are so many people struggling in South Africa? Hi, I'm Gunther Wallendorf, an edupreneur, entrepreneur and socialpreneur. It is my mission to help as many South Africans as possible uplift themselves and educate themselves before I die, hopefully. And you may say to yourself, or you may be saying to yourself, why would you do that? And my reply to that would be, because if I can help you, and you decide to help somebody else, and that person decides to help somebody else, then it won't be very long before we have a very low poverty level in South Africa, a low crime rate, and a thriving economy. I don't believe there's one South African out there that wouldn't want that. So please keep an eye open for my videos. They should be weekly, and I will try and teach you a little bit more about how things truly work that can make a change and a total difference to your life. So my question was, why are so many people struggling in South Africa? And the truth is so simple that many people won't believe it. Many people will say, it can't be that simple. Why should I waste my time on it? And all I have to say to those people is, well, you will then struggle for the rest of your life. You will remain where you are. And in fact, life will become worse because the economy and the inflation and the cost of living will always increase. But for the rest of you that want to hear and want to know, the truth is that we focus on the wrong things. We're so focused on the costs of things rising continuously that we don't focus on what we should focus on. We focus on all the things that the government are not doing instead of focusing on what we could be doing. So we focus on, well, we've got an education crisis in South Africa. Don't the government understand that? Why aren't they doing anything? Or the petrol price is going up again. This is ridiculous. Maybe we should go on strike. Or food prices increase. And we're saying to ourselves, well, how are people meant to survive with these high costs of food? Electricity is going up again. It's impossible to keep the lights on. So we have all these things on a daily basis that we are bombarded with, and we do a lot of negative talk to ourselves. And the fantastic thing is when we get a genius come along and agree with us, and then we say, well, we must be right. The truth is, yes, of course these things are going up in price, and yes, the government are not doing enough. But those are all things that we cannot change. We can do nothing about those problems. And I'm going to give you a hypothetical example here to illustrate how dangerous it would be if we could impact any of those issues. Let's take the issue of the cost of groceries. The people in South Africa go out on the streets and cause havoc and say to the government, the cost of living is too high, groceries need to come down. The government then decides to fix the prices of groceries at a certain level in the supermarkets. Of course, the supermarket owner is now looking at what he's selling and what the prices are, and he's saying, well, I'm not making enough money now to keep the doors open. So something has to change. I can't even pay my staff. So he goes to the distributor and the manufacturer and he says, guys, if you can't reduce your price, then I have to stop buying your product because I can't afford to keep my doors open. So the manufacturer and the distributor, they look at their pricing and they reduce. But they also have the same problem. They then say, well, we're not making enough to keep our doors open and produce these products. So they go to the farmer and they say, listen, if you can't reduce your price, then we can no longer buy your products. because we can't keep our doors open. Of course, the farmer, the poor farmer is at the end of the line. And he goes and he looks, does his calculations, and he says, well, I can't survive like this. If I sell my product at this price, I won't be able to buy seed for the next season for crop, and therefore I'll have nothing to sell. So he goes to his staff and he says, guys, they've reduced the prices, they're forcing the prices down, as you know, the government. I'm going to have to let half of you guys go because I can't afford to pay you. And the other half that stay will have to do twice as much work for the same amount of money. Of course, all hell breaks loose on the farm because it's unacceptable. These people are losing jobs and they need it, and they expected to do more work for the same amount of money. And they run amok. They burn the farm down, they burn the crops, and everything is destroyed. So if we understand the impact or the implication of reducing the cost of something, the price of something, the devastation it will cause down the line. In fact, that product might very well go off the market because we were asked for prices to be reduced. And on the way down, it will put people out of work. It's not that it will just go off the market. It puts people out of work. So as you can see, these are things that we cannot change. We cannot change these prices. We cannot change the cost of living rising. I'm 59 years old this year. I have never seen the cost of living come down. I've never seen the cost of petrol come down. I've never seen the cost of food products come down. Since I was a child, the rand has weakened against the dollar. These are things that we cannot change. And if we focus all our energy on these things because that we can do nothing about, well, we just upset and depress ourselves. And what's the point of that? Why don't we spend that time and that energy on things that we can change? And believe me, there are only 2 things we need to change. 2 things, not 1,000 things. The first thing we need to change is we need to develop ourselves and change ourselves. And the second thing we need to change is our income. Of course, if the cost of living rises, the only way to combat that is to increase your income. And we'll go into that in more detail in the future. But for today, we're talking about how to avoid the struggle and change your life. So I challenge you. This is a 3-month challenge. Do it for 90 days. If it doesn't do anything for you, you've lost nothing. But I'll promise you it will do something for you. What I want you to do over the next 90 days is every time you have a negative thought, convert it to a positive thought. So let's say, for instance, you read a newspaper headline and it says, the government does nothing about the education. So instead of absorbing that negative impact and saying, oh, the government, and start talking about it, say, well, if the government's going to do nothing about it, what can I do to make a change to the education crisis in South Africa? Then you stop at the garage and you're filling your car up and you're looking at the price of fuel and you want to say, this is ridiculous. I can't travel to work and back anymore. It's too expensive. Instead of saying that, ask yourself the question, what can I do to make sure that in the future I can still afford petrol? And then, of course, when you go do your grocery shopping and you come to your coffee and you see coffee is very expensive, and you say to yourself, gosh, that coffee is so expensive now I can't afford it. Instead of saying that, it's a negative comment. Look at it and say, well, that coffee's gone up in price. What can I do to make sure that I can afford it next month? If you continuously do this, you ask yourself questions, your mind will come up with the answers. And it will come up with answers that will help you increase your income. And that's far better than complaining about something you can't change. Thank you very much for listening to me. See you next week. Bye.